When we're studying Pāli using the textbook Introduction to Pāli by Water, what can often slow us down, especially if we're only relying on the textbook, is finding where a word appeared when we're doing the translation. So I built a small tool to reduce that friction, and we can find it on paalinotes.com. It's been designed specifically at this stage to support studying the Introduction to Pāli textbook. So the content on this website is based on notes written by Marco Hummel, a Pāli teacher who I had taken classes with. I'm going to demonstrate how one might use Pāli notes when studying with water. If we look here on the main page, which we get to by pretty much clicking login, there's no actual login authentication mechanism at the moment. So pretty much if you click login, it takes you straight into the app, and you'll notice a search box as well as a few buttons, as well as the notes which are being displayed beneath the buttons. At this stage, only 2 of the buttons are useful. The rest are pretty much a work in progress, and in the next version, it's going to look quite a bit different with a lot of improvements. But for now, only the first 2 buttons are pretty much worth using. So we've got match diacritics and full word match. To demonstrate how to use it, I'll bring up an exercise in water and show how to query up vocabulary you might encounter in a translation exercise by using this app, rather than going back trying to find out where that word appeared on which page of the textbook, which is very time consuming. I've got the digital version of the textbook here, and just as an example, I might try and translate these 2 sentences. So we're on page 33, and within exercise 5, I'm going to focus on these 2 lines. If I was solely using the textbook, I would have to find the page where each of these words appeared, and they could be in any of the chapters up until the current chapter that we're doing the exercises of. And this is pretty fine in the first few chapters, but if you get deeper and deeper into the textbook, well, there are more pages behind you, and hence it takes quite a bit of detective investigation work sometimes to find exactly where a certain word appeared. So the other option is if you're solely relying on the textbook, but you're using the digital version, is you could try to Control F search to find where the word appeared, but even then it can often be pretty difficult. There are alternatives such as online dictionaries where you could find these words. However, I find that the notes that are in Pāli Notes were solely designed for studying off Water's textbook, and hence just emphasizing that if you're studying off Water, then this version of Pāli Notes that I'm demonstrating is an excellent companion. If you're studying off another source, such as another textbook, or you're trying to translate a sutta, the version that is currently uploaded won't be 100% optimized. However, I'm actually working on a version at the moment I'm going to make a video soon about where it really is suited to translating in contexts other than just a water textbook. So anyway, so let's get into the demonstration of these 2. All right, so searching up the word te, if I simply put te in, we'll notice that it takes quite a while to load. So I'll just wait for it. And when it does load, it doesn't seem like the words that are returned are particularly useful. And that's because it's looking for TE not as an isolated word, but even when it appears as part of other words. So here we have letter as part of one of the notes, and it's finding TE, which is no good. So often when we're searching for a word and the word is so small in terms of how many letters it has, and we need to narrow down the search results, it's often very useful to use full word match. Because when we do that, it looks for where this string of letters appears as a full word as opposed to as part of a bigger word. So let's see what happens if I search again. And there we go. So in this case, it seems like the card we want is actually the first one that comes up. It could mean any of these, as that's where te appears. However, in this case, based off the other words in the sentence, I'm pretty sure te in this case means they. So we have te meaning they. Then I'm going to jump to the verb, which is avochum. Searching for that. And there we go. That is the aorist plural of vachati, and it means said. So te avochum, they said, or they spoke to rather, or they addressed. And searching for the last word, which is rajaputang. Quite curious that it didn't appear. In this version, I suspect were only able to find the word if we search for its underlined form. So I might just start deleting. There we go, deleting letters off the end of it. And here we got Rajaputta, so which is son of the king. So they addressed or spoke to the son of the king. Let's do the next sentence, and we've got ma. If I were only to type in ma, do the full word match, we'll see what comes back. Even then, we're getting quite a few cards, but I really want it with the diacritic, and to match the diacritic, what I'm going to do is type it in with a long A, see what happens. And as you can see, even though my intention was to type in to account for the diacritic, we're still returning results that match even when it has a short A rather than a long A. So what we need to do there is to toggle the match diacritics button, do a search, and there we go. You can find the word right away. And it means do not. So then we've got a katta. The correct result is actually the first one, because if we open up the card and we look into it, you could see that a katta is the aorist second person plural of karoti. Then saddang. So sadda is sound. So don't you make a sound. Speaking to at least two people, because a kata was plural. So yeah, that's pretty much all I wanted to demonstrate. If you do stumble across this website, for now, until the next version is released, the first two buttons are pretty much the only ones I would recommend using. And just to re-emphasize, it's particularly useful if you're studying off water. So you can see how I was able to do these translations without having to refer to different pages of the textbook and to find out where each one of these words appeared, so we can translate much quicker.